Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today we're painting daffodils. So here are some reference images for the daffodils. I wanted to do these. I have been this year really wanting to paint the flowers as they were blooming, but yeah, it just has not happened like that. But this last couple of weeks has felt a little bit more like spring, and we're getting the nice crisp kind of cool weather back, which is really nice. So I thought, let's paint some daffodils, and then when they come around soon, yeah, you'll kind of have that ability. So this one here I painted with the daffodils in front of me, and that's kind of what I took the inspiration off for the paintings that we're going to do today. One of the things when you're painting from life, it is quite difficult, and even whether it's plein air, whether it's on location, or whether it's just, you know, having that flower in front of you. So it's good to practice those subjects beforehand, and so that's sort of part of what we're doing today. So I started this a few times trying to get the colour right. I felt like this, you would not be able to see this yellow very well, so I actually switched to a grey pastel pencil, but we're going to sketch it out quickly with pastel pencil first to kind of just look at the structure of the flower, and then to build up the colour layers how we would build them up in watercolour. So firstly, you can see that we're putting a circle in for the middle of the flower, and then I'm kind of haphazardly kind of going out and in and creating these kind of ruffles that are around the kind of trumpet section in the center of the flower. Then we're going to do a 5-petaled flower here, but I think it was more like a 6-petaled one. So anyway, we'll sketch that out in a minute, but here is a 5-petaled one. There's plenty of 5-petaled flowers. The other thing that's really nice about doing these is that you can, you know, we're going to do sort of a true kind of daffodil, but you can change the colors of these shapes as well, and kind of take the structure from one flower to another. So here I'm starting with the pale yellow Caran d'Ache pastel pencil, and just kind of putting a quick layer of that color down. Then I'm going in with the lemon yellow pastel pencil. You can see it's just a brighter, a fresher yellow. And I want to show you this because it's sometimes difficult to get your head around with watercolor, building up from the lightest layers to the darkest layer. At least that's what I found. One of the hardest things about watercolor is kind of figuring out where to leave those highlights, where to add the shadows, and how to get that kind of done without it looking muddy. So that is what I like to kind of use these exercises for. And then you can see I'm taking like an even warmer yellow and starting to kind of put that in the center here. I will often just use my finger to soften out the pastel color there. There's the top of the kind of trumpet part usually has like a little crease in it to kind of show that that is, you know, there's a curve there. And then I found that for daffodils, this kind of olive brown color is a really nice pairing as a shadow color. So this is the Caran d'Ache pastel. I think this is like a 50%, or I think I showed it, but yeah, something like that. And I think it's just a really nice, shadow colors can be one of the most difficult parts of any painting, really, not just with flowers, but I do find that with flowers it is tricky because the shadows fall, and you want that kind of subtle, soft and kind of delicate colouring of the flower. You want to kind of keep that intact. So yeah, I do recommend painting the same flower and trying out different shadow colours in it. So another one that would also be really nice in, you can see just putting a little green in the middle there, but another one would be really nice with the yellow of the flowers would be sort of soft violets as well, and even deeper violets with like a Sugilite, the Daniel Smith, or things like that. So yeah, definitely try out different shadow colors depending on the setting. And yeah, you can see that I'm just kind of putting in little bits of these shadow colors, and then we'll paint this. I really use these exercises to look at where the shadows might fall. This is again a different pastel that's kind of even a lighter kind of olive brown color. So I'm looking at just what that would look like. And then I picked up this really pretty kind of mint color for the stalk. This is not obviously true to life, but it does kind of make the flower, I don't know, it gives it quite a nice like color. So I was thinking about that as well as we painted it, and sort of if I could add any of that anywhere. But you could see there, I pulled out the one that I had done from life, and I realized that there was an extra petal, so I quickly sketched this out for you again. So you can see the top petal there, and then we do the bottom one so that you get this kind of sense of symmetry. Also, the bottom petal there was curving a bit by the time that I painted it, and then to get these petals right kind of on the side, you can see you can kind of map out the middle section there, and like we do it here, you can kind of see. So it gives you just a little sense of how to get those proportions right for each one of those petals. But the nice thing about doing flowers is that there are these kind of subtle kind of changes in the petals, so you don't have to worry too much if you feel like it's not quite right. It's nice to have that little bit of the symmetry is not exactly right. You want the petals to feel like they're sort of alive in a way, like they're swaying or they're moving. Okay, so we're doing the side version of a petal now. So we have the stem, and then we have this part here that was encasing the flower. So again, you can always just watch this, and then kind of when you're sketching it, you can just pause it here at the parts, rewind it if you want to, and just kind of keep working along that. So once we've got that in, I'm looking at these again, the flower closest to us, the side ones, and then the back ones. So that's how we're going to sketch it. We'll do this petal here that was closest to us, and it's kind of almost like a heart, sort of on the side like the top of a heart, or a backwards 3. And so we put that in, and then we put these each side petal on here. They go up, it kind of curves, and we join that in, and then we put the back of that petal on, and then we put the bottom petal here on as well, and then we will go to the back petals, but we'll first put in the trumpet here. This kind of has like an oval, so again, like we did the center, we kind of look at that oval, and then we can haphazardly go in and out and place the kind of ruffles in there, and then we can do these 2 back petals there. Okay, so we have done a quick sketch of the kind of a side view of the flower, and I could see that when I pulled the book out of the one that I did, the petals were a little bit like fuller and bigger. So again, that's always a good thing when you're doing sort of a thumbnail sketch or a quick version of something. Think about, little changes that you want to make there. So anyway, that is kind of how it's quite nice to start any project with some smaller sketches. It doesn't have to be pastels. If you have neocolors, pencils, a different medium, it's quite nice to just try that out quickly. You can also just do a quick watercolor version as well. So we're going to work in this sketchbook. We did a lot of work last year in the Floral Festival in this book, and I'm going to link that below. And then this year, what are we calling it this year? This year, I feel like our garden party has been fraught with difficulties and obstacles, but we are persevering and so anyway, it's actually quite nice to kind of stop and continue to think about these things. Let's see, this is one here that I did just recently from some peonies that we had, and again you can see this is a different stylized kind of version where I've left little white space between the petals and just kind of thought about the shapes of each petal. Last year we did a lot with kind of outlining things in inks, outlining things in sparkly watercolors. You can see here the branches and the petals where I've just put kind of hints of like a gold ink or a gold watercolor around. So I haven't outlined it fully, but where it is, it really kind of adds this kind of sumptuous, lovely layer to the painting. And I want you to just think about that. You can add it, we're kind of just working through methodically to kind of look at how to structure one of these flowers, but you can, add lots of your own flair to these projects as well. Okay, so I've done my sketches, I've taken a bit more time, and you can see one of the things here I wanted to show you, just adding these lines where the kind of ruffles come kind of down. It really does help to just add that little bit more structure to the flower. So you can see first of all here, I'm getting the lemon yellow and I'm dulling it down a little bit with water and with some of the sort of muddy colours that are already on my palette. So it's a little bit less bright. There are a few different ways you can kind of build up these softer layers, and one of them is to kind of mute the colours with water and sort of mix them, make a bit of more of a shadowy mix. The other way is to use white. You can see that I just dipped my brush in the lemon yellow. This is the Winsor & Newton cadmium free lemon yellow because it has a really nice light fast rating, and then I put it into the white paint, and you create this really soft, pale, pretty colour for the kind of initial wash and the first layer. And so I'll go through, I will put a little bit more of that on the top area there as well, where we had kind of already added the softer watery wash. And I think I'll do the same thing with this other flower. So we kind of start to build them up, both the layers, the first layers can be done sort of at the same time because we need those both to dry so that we can start working on top of them and glazing over the top. One of the things I really like about painting flowers is just these subtle changes in colour and tone, and you know, shadow. So you can see there that I'm kind of thinking, like on my palette here, I'm just kind of moving around and adding little bits of maybe more orange into the wash, or more of the yellow, a little bit more of a shadowy color. Yeah, I'm already kind of thinking about that even in these initial layers. Like, even though it's a very soft, thin and kind of transparent layer, I really want to start to think about the different intonations of those areas. And so then we're adding some green in here. So I've gone for quite a natural green here. And then you can see that I am going to rinse my brush, damp it on a paper towel, and soften the green into the yellow there. So, and I'm going to mix a few different things just on the painting. I'll often do this as well. So you can mix on your palette. Sometimes when you add colors in actually on the painting, it can create some quite nice kind of variations, but you do have to be careful of this. You don't want to be scrubbing the paper at all. You just want to be kind of gently and lightly adding colour in there. So I've mixed kind of the lemon yellow with the Daniel Smith Terra Vert is the colour that I kind of ended up with, this kind of spring green colour. And yeah, we again will let this dry, and then we will add some layers to that as well. But I'm also using, this is the Daniel Smith French Ochre. I want to put in this, I'm not sure what this is called, but it's kind of the part that holds and protects the flower, and then it sort of, when the flower buds, you have this really beautiful, it's almost like parchment or vellum. It's something quite nice, but I put the colour in there. I'm using a little bit of the Daniel Smith Burnt Tiger's Eye as well, and you can see that I also lifted out quite a bit of that colour. We want that very thin colouring to make it kind of look really fine and delicate. Okay, so we've worked on those other areas to give this a chance to dry, and now I'm just going in, you can see, with some of the straight lemon yellow to start to really put in the really brighter colours here. And you can see that sometimes I'll just grab water, and sometimes I will grab pigment. I think that's one of the keys to water control. I'll talk about this, I'll do a whole video on this, but yeah, often we're just really simplifying water control to, do we need more pigment or do we need more water? And sometimes you'll see, like, you'll grab pigment and you'll put it down, it might be a little bit too much pigment, so that's okay. You just grab a little bit of water and then you can kind of move that pigment around. And so you can see that I am just kind of adding these almost like striations, like lines that go, they're kind of tapered to thin points, and really just wanting to get little splashes of colour and start to add in the some of the form of those petals. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to get a little bit of this Daniel Smith French Ochre, mix it with the yellow to create a warmer yellow, and then we're going to start to kind of put this in. You can see here I'm also grabbing a bit, like that would be a bit sort of Daniel Smith Sedona, and just putting this into the trumpet area. The other thing I wanted to mention is you can see the pencil line's quite dark here. You can erase that, you know, so it's very faint before you start, but I was feeling like I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see, so I left it darker than it probably needed to be. But so the other thing is now we're going in, we're glazing the top parts of the stem here. We do kind of a larger line on one side and then a really thin line, and this is to kind of create the it's almost got a square stem, so we're trying to sort of create a little bit of that effect on there. And then this is dry now, so we can go in here again with a very faint kind of watery wash of some of this burnt tiger's eye, and just adding some little lines there that they do not have to be very structured, because you're kind of showing the creases and the weathered aspect of this. So I wanted to add some extra striations in here now, but this was actually not dry enough, so it's a good thing to remember. If something's not working out, it could be just that it's not dry enough, so we move on to something else in the meantime. So I've picked up some of this, I think this is the French Earth Green Leaf and Blueberry French Earth. It's got the really nice soft olive brown colouring we're looking for. I'll give you some alternatives in a second as well, but we're just kind of putting in some of the shadow kind of folds in the petals. You can kind of see when you put the petals up to the light, you can kind of see that there's differences in the petal like this. So yep, what I'm doing now is I'm using Daniel Smith greenish brown raw umber, something like that. It's German greenish raw umber or something like that. And this is also got that nice olive brown colouring. You can again mix this with water or mix it with white. And yep, I'm just putting in some of those shadows around the lines we created in the center of the trumpet to create a little bit of form in there as well. So underneath this kind of crease, I put some of that shadow, and over the top of it, I put some more of the lemon yellow to create some of that kind of movement and curve in the way when the trumpet kind of section is curving upwards. And again, working on an area like this, I'm putting a little bit of green in here, but it's nice to go back and have a look at the reference from the beginning. So I am getting a little bit of this holographic gold, like a bit of a sparkle color, and I'm using that on the stems here. I've already kind of put some of the olive green on there, but I want to just kind of make that stand out a little bit and just give it a hint of something quite pretty and interesting. Then we're going back in, now that this is dried, I've gotten sort of a lot more pigment on my brush. This is the Daniel Smith Burnt Tiger's Eye, and you can see that I'm just putting in some of these kind of vertical lines. They don't have to be straight, they don't need to line up with each other. They kind of need to look like they're moving and creasing. So they go up one way and then they go across where this part's kind of folded over and opened for the flower. We sort of do them across this way, and again we're looking for kind of movement in there. You can see I'm also taking a little bit up, straight up to the fold there, so that it looks right. And then I'm going back in and kind of just deepening up some of these and thickening them, and yeah, just adding little bits of kind of directional movement. Then I'm taking a little bit of shadow colors. This one is Silk Grey by the Ocean Paper, and I'm adding it underneath where that kind of turn and the curve is. And then I'm going to also add some around this trumpet here as well, and some into the daffodil itself. And this is where I'm taking like a more traditional sort of a shadow color, and then I'm kind of going to think my way through a few different colors as we paint these, to kind of also show you a few different ways that you can look at shadow colors. So I start out with this one, I kind of putting it in between where the petals are, and you know, around different places where I think there might be a curve or a shadow, where that petal has folded over a little bit. And then I'm taking a little bit of this more warmer yellow and starting to put this in also in these creases where the back petals kind of join on the side view. This is a really nice part of the process. You can see they're just adding in a little bit more definition in where these petals are. This kind of part of the process gives you quite a few opportunities. One is to bring more definition to, you know, the form that you've created, and also to kind of add little moments of color as well. So yeah, always kind of think about that. Do I want to, I mean, this is, you can kind of think about it logically, like this is how I should build up this, but is there something else you might want to add? Yeah, and I'll show you what I mean as we go along. We'll add some different more unusual shadow colors as well. I'm also going to get a little bit of orange here, and the orange and the yellow are both very strong colors, so I only need a tiny hint of it, but I don't want to use too much as well, because these were very, very yellow daffodils, so I don't really want to bring too much of that color in, but I do want a little bit of warmth in the center of the flower there. And yeah, so again, like, it's quite nice to have some warmer shadows, some cooler shadows. I'm also going in here now that the green is dry, just with a little bit more of the same mix, but kind of dry brushing just a little bit of extra definition in onto that part. I also wanted to talk about a couple of different ways to go about, like if you have a lighter flower, you know, painting shadows around the edges or painting the entire area around the flower to make it stand out as well. So, you know, again, there's different options there, and we can look at that in some other videos as well, but we will work on just one of those kind of things today. The way we're painting these, it's kind of not loose, it's not hyper realistic, but it's more of like a figurative painterly style, I think. You can see here I also went around it with like a micron pen. That's another thing that you can do. And once I did that, I realized that's the warm grey 0.1 Copic multiliner, but once I did that, I realized I needed some more color in there because the line was a little bit too dark. So again, this is where when you're painting, you know, you kind of can make decisions like this. Yeah, you can see here the ones I did from Life, they're a lot lighter. Yeah, but we're kind of looking at building up watercolor in a traditional way, but we're also kind of embracing this impressionist idea of a kaleidoscope of colors, creating interesting lines. I'm also, so hang on, sorry, what you can see here, we'll go back to that, but I have gotten a little bit of this Incarnate number 1. It's a soft peach color, and I'm just going around the kind of right side of the petals, and I'm actually just starting to build in a little bit of a soft peach kind of warm shadow color here. So we've done the olive brown, we've done kind of a more grey, and now we're looking at, and you can see here I'm getting sort of some pinks, more like potter's pinks, making sort of these warm shadows, so giving the flower a little bit of glow, and also you can see here that I am changing slightly the shadow color as it moves down the flower. So a shadow doesn't have to always be the same color, and it does not have to be always grey as well. So yeah, and so then we go from the kind of peachy colors on that flower to more purples on this one, because I wanted to also see what that would be like. So you can see even with this, like, we're kind of embracing this impressionist notion of these vibrant, bold colors, and they always kind of have these kind of overlapping forms and obscured details. It's really a thoughtful, I feel like Impressionism is like a thoughtful rendering of emotion. It's sort of takes the literal thing, and then it's kind of adding more of your own, how you feel, like how you feel about the thing. It's kind of more personal, more subjective, and rendering those things that you like about it and showing other people kind of on the canvas what that entails. I really like how they seem to derive energy and light from the atmosphere. Like, they just kind of bring, they look around and they're kind of looking what they're seeing and how they're feeling, and they kind of bring all that together and kind of scoop it onto the canvas. So I feel like I like to do that type of thing. And you can see here, like, I've changed, I'm still kind of putting a shadow in, but I've changed to this really soft pearlescent green. So this would be similar to like Winsor and Newton Davies grey and Daniel Smith pearlescent white. And then we're taking a little bit of these sparkle colours, and I'm going to add this in just very thinly into some of this shadow area around the trumpet. I feel like when you look at like a lot of the Impressionist landscapes and things like that, they're sort of they're almost lingering in the fragrance of the garden. The painting is full of their emotion, like I was going to say emotions, but really it's like their emotions, and then they kind of bring that to you and kind of help, it's almost like gifting it to you, I guess. Like, it's really nice to see their paintings and to feel, kind of be with them in the garden for a moment. So yeah, and you can see here I've gotten some of this this is almost like a glitter color, so it's very sparse, and I wanted that just that little sprinkling of sparkle in these shadow areas. I'm also lifting out a little bit of the curve here on the trumpet to give a little bit of highlight as that turns downward. This is where you do have to be really careful with staining colours, because they don't lift as easily. This is where I decided to put a little bit of that mint green colour just right in the centre there. And then to finish it off, I'm taking some of this colour. This is Bezel. Again, I will try and list or link these colours below. But I'm just going around some of the outlines. You can see I don't want like a thick outline everywhere, but I'm just going around some of those places and adding this little kind of detail of something intricate and delicate. On this flower it works a little better because the pencil line was already lighter, and you can see there I'm just kind of putting it in sort of the darker areas where the pencil line was and covering that a little bit. Having said that, I never mind seeing the pencil marks, and I've also found that a lot, even especially on Van Gogh's paintings. Yeah, there's always like a pencil and where they sketched and things. So, But yeah, so that is pretty much it for today. Again, you can see you could keep building this up. You could do a couple more layers of what we've already kind of done. You can go back to the reference photos and kind of keep working that as well. But you may also think of some different colors, different shadow colors you want to try. You might want to try it in a looser style, maybe make a really large one and use inks for outlines, or use different mediums that you enjoy as well. These videos are kind of supposed to be a springboard for you, so we work through how to create the flower, and then you can kind of let the flower soar from there however you would like to. So I hope you enjoyed this. These videos seem to take a lot longer to create. I fell asleep Friday night editing, and yeah, it's just been quite difficult getting the everything, you know, just getting it all done. But I hope you have enjoyed it, and there's still a few things I want to paint, and actually there's quite a few things, so we'll just kind of keep getting through it as we can. I also have a little haul that I want to show you at some point, so yeah, I will see you as soon as I can get another video organized. Honestly, if I could get a video done every 2 days, I would, but I hope you enjoy this, and I will. You can see here Millie, so she was so tired, but she likes to run in, jump on this chair and just get some cuddles before bed. So, and then she was upset because I was filming her instead of cuddling her. Yeah, you can see. Are you gonna cuddle me? What's going on? Yeah, she's so tired. Her little cheeks have totally dropped. I will not go to sleep till I get cuddles. Anyway, have a really lovely week and enjoy painting some flowers. So I will see you guys. She's peeking at me in the TV. Anyway, I will see you soon. Bye.